Good morning, students. Welcome back once again to the online classes on the chapter Electrostatics in Physics for Standard 12th. If you remember, last class we devoted some time discussing an important law, that was the Gauss law. And I had told that in the next class, that is today, I shall be discussing some of its applications based on symmetry. But before we do so, it's important to know and acquaint ourselves with some of the basic terminologies that would be needed there. You can see on the board, continuous charge distribution is written over there. Now, continuous, you understand. So far we have been discussing about discrete charges. What does discrete charge mean? That point charges are distributed in some fashion. Today we shall discuss what would happen if charge is distributed uniformly over a length or over some surface or over some volume. Accordingly, we have three terms. Let's see one by one. The first one is linear charge density. See, it is charge density. The normal mass density, you know, it is density per unit volume. So it is linear. Linear will be for length, surface for area, and volume, you understand that, occupying some space. Linear charge density we will denote by lambda, and we will define it as lambda is equal to charge per unit length. So dq by dl, you can also write it is defined as q upon l, you can write. So this becomes charge per unit length, and you can think about its unit, charge by length. So its SI unit will be how much? Coulomb per meter. Surface charge density we denote by sigma, and it will be defined as sigma is equal to charge per unit area. And volume charge density rho will define it as charge per unit volume. Accordingly, you can write over here. So while making notes, you can write the definition yourself. Let's see the units quickly. So dq upon dl is lambda, charge per unit length. So its SI unit will be how much, students? It will be coulomb per meters. Then we have sigma, charge per unit area. Its SI unit will be coulomb per meter square, and here we will have coulomb per meter cube. Now, why is this important? When you write Coulomb's law, or when you write an expression for electric field due to continuous charge distribution, then we will need them. Just I'll give one example. The electric field, how do we write? Due to a point charge, we write it as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square. But if you have a linear charge density, linear charge distribution, then where charge is distributed uniformly over its length, then we take a small element and we will call it as dq. Let lambda be the linear charge density on this wire. Then how do we write expression for electric field at some point? From dq to the point where we have to find the electric field, this vector is suppose r vector whose magnitude is r. So this vector is r vector. Then the electric field due to this element dq, this one, will be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Charge will become dq, and this distance is r square, and if you write in vector form, I should write r cap. But the electric field at this point due to the entire charge distribution will be found by integrating the electric fields at this point due to different elements which you will consider on this length. So the total electric field will be therefore given as summation. And if it is continuous charge distribution, that summation I can replace by integration. So integration of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught dq upon r square and then r cap. But just now we have seen lambda is dq upon dl. So dq I can replace by lambda times dl, where dl is this smaller length. This length is dl. In this way we will find electric field due to continuous charge distribution. So quickly just let's see, instead of linear charge distribution, if it is charge distributed over some surface, then this formula will become E vector is equal to integration. So the method will be similar. So what we will do here we will take a small element. Suppose we have to find electric field at this point. This element has some area and it has some charge, that we will write as dq. This will be our r vector. So electric field due to this element will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught this charge dq upon this distance square, that is r square, and direction we can write r cap. So this is the electric field due to this element. So the total electric field at this point due to the entire charge configuration distributed over a surface will be obtained by integrating this value. And here dq we have to replace, there is surface charge density which we have denoted by sigma. So sigma is dq by ds, so dq we will replace by sigma into ds. Note the changes over there. Other parameters will remain same, just the charge element dq you will write as lambda into dl for linear case, sigma into ds for charge distributed over a surface, and the same dq in third case, that is volume charge distribution, that will simply become E is equal to integration 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught dq upon r square. That dq you can guess what we shall write here, that dq will become rho multiplied by dv. So don't bother much about them right now. When a given question will be there, you will be easily able to integrate these values. Just remember, as and when desired, dq you can write as lambda times dl, sigma times ds, or rho times dv. So these are the different charge configurations which are needed, and we will use them for discussing the applications of Gauss law. Let's see the applications one by one. Let's see first one example given in your NCERT students. I would request you to please go through this particular question first from the text. This is example 1.11 of your textbook. You can see there is a figure. These are the three coordinate axes, x, y and z. There is a cube. Each side of this cube is A. The electric field in this region is given by this particular set of values of Ex, Ey and Ez. You can see the y and z components of electric field are 0 each. That means electric field is present only along x-axis. So it is given it is directed in this particular direction, that is along x-axis, and its value is not constant. Its value changes with x like so. So Ex is equal to alpha times x to the power half, where alpha is some constant whose value in SI system is given in the question, and this cube's edge is also given to have a value of 0.1 meters. So there is a cubical surface, electric field is along x-axis, because y and z components of electric field are 0. So you should remember students, electric field is in this direction along x-axis, and its value at different points on x-axis are different. Its value depend upon x. First thing, number A, we have to find the flux through the cube. Flux, students, you know how to find. First we will solve A part. Flux formula is E dot delta S. So flux phi is equal to E vector dot delta S vector. This is the definition for electric flux. Now in this figure, this closed figure which you see of that of a cube, this is one surface. To make it more clear, and this is the opposite face. This is the top one, this is the bottom one, this one, this one, this is the bottom one, then this is the front one, and this one is the back one. So there are 6 faces, each of area A square. Let us, if you remember students, I have told the direction of area vector is taken normal to the surface. For this face, the area vector will be in this direction. For this face, it will be in opposite direction. For this bottom face, it will be downward. For the top face, it will be upward. Is it clear, students? And there are 2 more faces, the front one and the back one. I am not representing them by arrows. You have to understand, for the front surface, the area vector will be directed towards you, like so. And for the rear surface or back surface, the area vector will be directed into the plane of the board. If you see carefully, E vector makes 90 degree with this one area vector, and this one area vector. So out of 6, with 4 of the area vectors, electric field makes 90 degree. And if it makes 90 degree angle, what will happen to the dot product, students? It will become 0, because cos 90 is 0. So I'll call this surface, the left one, as 1. I can write it as left also. So the unit vector I am pointing, this unit vector I'll write as NL, L for left. This unit vector I'll write as NR, like this. Now you might ask, sir, why the normal vectors are drawn this way, not the opposite way? That is also normal. If you remember, students, I have already discussed, for closed surfaces, the direction of normal should be along the outward normal. So you don't have to enter inside the cube, you have to move outward. That's why these normals are correct. So likewise, I can write here NB, B for bottom, and top. You can make your own symbols. So this is summation. Why summation? There are 6 surfaces. Now let me call these surfaces as surface 1, surface 2, the top one surface 3, bottom one surface 4, the front one as surface 5, and the back one as surface 6. So this one at the back one, the one which will go behind 6. So this I'll write as electric field value. Over here I'll write as EL, L for left. Area vector is delta S vector. Delta S vector is how much? The area is equal to area of a square. Area of a square will become A square, where A is the side. Then dot product. Dot product means cos of angle between them we have to multiply here. I am writing the value at the left end for this surface. See it carefully. So this is E, this is value of area into cos of angle between them. Now what is the direction of electric field? I have discussed, it is along x-axis. The unit vector is oppositely directed. So it will become cos 180 degree. Next, for the right surface over here, the value of electric field, I'll write it as ER, R for right. Then area will have same value, A square. This is also A square, this is also A square. But the unit vector and electric field are in same direction, so this will become cos 0. For all other terms, we'll have cos 90, cos 90, cos 90 and cos 90. For all these 4 faces, we'll have cos 90 term which will be 0. So the answer will be this much. That I should write also, except for the left and right faces, all other 4 surfaces or 4 faces have area vector perpendicular to E vector. So flux will be 0 for these four surfaces. So only two of these surfaces will contribute to flux, and we have seen their expression. Now a value is given in the question, so you will put those values. Cos 180 will be -1, cos 0 will be +1. So this will be plus and this will be minus. EL, now value of E is given by this expression. At the left end, what is the value of x? Imagine this is the cube. So this is the cube. This face is at distance. This is missing. This is also A. This is also A. It is missing in the question probably. Or I think it is given. It should be given. So the value of x is A for the left face. X is the distance. Likewise, the right face, how much distance it has from origin, you can see. From here to here, it is A, and from between these two faces, the distance is how much? That is also A. A and A will become 2A. So the value of x for EL will be obtained by putting its value alpha into x. What is x here? It is A, and power is half. Cos 180 is -1 plus ER. At the right end, the value of electric field is again given by this formula, that is alpha, but x, as I have discussed, from here to here it is A plus A, that is 2A to the power half. This will give you the answer. Now put the values of alpha, then A, and calculate it. You will get some answer in SI system. Do you remember its unit? E into delta S. For E we write Newton per Coulomb, and for area we will write meter square. So that is the first part to this particular question. Calculation, please do it yourself. Part B now. Charge within the cube. Charge within the cube that can be found using Gauss law. What does Gauss law say? That the total flux through a closed surface is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q inside. Inside this cube, the charge which is enclosed, that I am writing as Q in, and that is asked in the question, charge within the cube. So this implies Q in will be how much? That will be epsilon naught times phi. Phi, you have got the answer over here, and you have to multiply by epsilon naught. Do you remember what is the value of epsilon naught, students? In SI system, it's 8.85 10 raised to the power -12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square. Multiply that with phi, you will get the answer to this particular question. So this was the first example based on Gauss law. Let's switch over to next example. Here is the second question based on Gauss law. This is example 1.12 from your NCERT. The electric field in this case does not depend upon x, y or z. You can see it has only a value. So we say it is uniform and its value is 200 units in SI, Newton per Coulomb. Direction is I cap, that means along x axis, that means in this direction, for x greater than 0. What does that mean? That means on the right of origin, the direction of electric field is towards right. So here electric field is in this direction. But for x less than 0, to the left of origin, its direction is along minus I cap. That means electric field is in this direction. So the direction of electric field in the regions to the left and right of origin are opposite. So this is the direction of electric field in these two regions. There is a cylindrical surface given whose center lies at the origin. These are its flat circular faces. Length of the cylinder, etc. are given in the question. Radius is also given. So this length I write it as L, and this radius of the cylinder I write it as R. So L and R are given in the question. I'll just discuss the method what is being asked in the question. The first thing that they have asked is net outward flux through each flat face. Now this is the flat face, this is the flat face. You have to find the net outward flux. Now how do you find net outward flux? Flux formula is, students, E dot delta S vector. First you see here, this is a closed surface. For this flat face, which is the outward normal? Obviously this one. So this is the delta S vector. Likewise for this flat face, this is the outward normal, delta S vector. If you see carefully, for both the faces, the area vector and electric field vector are in same direction. Here also you can see the area vector and electric field vector, they are in same direction. Since they are in same direction, E dot delta S will become E times area delta S times cos 0 degree. Now cos 0 will become how much? 1. So this will be 1. Now E value is 200 and the delta S value is value of the area of this circular part, that is nothing but pi r square. Substituting the value of r and E, you will get the answer. Next it is asked flux through the side of cylinder. Side of cylinder means the lateral surface of the cylinder. So this is the cylinder, you can see. So these are the flat faces, this is the lateral surface. Now if you choose any element on this lateral surface, students, for example at the top, the area vector will be directed upward, but the electric field vectors are directed along x-axis. Any element in this lateral surface would be directed perpendicular to the direction of electric field. That's why here cos 90 term will be there, E dot delta S, which will become 0 because theta will be 90 degree. E vector and delta S vector will be perpendicular for all the elements taken on that particular lateral surface of the cylinder. So it will be 0. Next part is asked net flux through this cylinder. Net flux through the cylinder phi is flux through this surface, flat surface, plus flux through this flat surface and flux through the entire lateral surface. For lateral surface it is 0. For this face we have calculated in the first part. Whatever answer we have got in the first part, that is E into pi r square, that is the flux through one of the faces. But here there are two faces and both of them are positive. So it will be 2 times whatever answer you have got in first case. Suppose in first case we have got the answer as phi dash, then your answer must be twice of phi dash. Last part is net charge inside the cylinder. Net charge inside the cylinder, you will simply use Gauss law. So from Gauss law we will write 1 by epsilon naught times Q in is the total flux. Total flux is this value. Put that value of phi here, substitute the value of epsilon naught, then you will get the value of Q in. Likewise, different charge configuration, different shapes, different regions of electric field might be given in the question, students, and accordingly you will be asked to find charge inside the surface or flux through the surface. So using these examples, it should be clear now how to calculate the flux and charge enclosed. We will see some special cases now one by one, and we will learn how to find electric field due to such special charge distributions taking help of Gauss law. Let's see one by one. So this is the first example. We'll see how to find the electric field due to infinitely long straight uniformly charged wire. You can see this is a linear charge which extends till infinity on either sides. It is a very long line of charge, and charge is distributed over its length, and charge per unit length is lambda, that is given in the question. We take a point over here at some distance, say r. At this point, at a distance r, we wish to find electric field. So here electric field E is to be found. So we'll use Gauss law to find the electric field. So first we'll take into consideration the concept of symmetry. Since this wire is very long, if I take other points also at same distance r, the electric field must be same. And if it is positively charged, it should be directed away, and if it is negatively charged, it should be directed towards the wire. That gives us the hint that we construct an imaginary surface in the form of cylinder like so. At the axis of which lies that line of charge. The radius of this cylinder you can see is r, let its length be L. This kind of surface which you imagine, that is called as Gaussian surface. What do we call it? It is called as Gaussian surface. This Gaussian surface we have chosen in the form of a cylinder. This cylindrical surface, like previous question, will divide it into three parts. So this part, the curved part, will take it as part 1. The top part will take it as part 2, and this surface will take it as surface 3. Let us first calculate the total flux through this particular cylinder. It is obvious by symmetry that the electric field must be directed like this, in that region. Here it should be directed like so. On this cylinder, it will be directed radially outward. So that is our first statement. By symmetry, we say electric field is directed radially, directed along the outward normal to the curved surface, which we call as a lateral surface of the cylinder. That cylinder is nothing but Gaussian surface, which I am writing as GS, G for Gaussian, S for surface. For this lateral surface, which will be a cylinder like this, the electric field will be directed along the outward normal. Since this is the direction of electric field, for the flat surfaces 2 and 3, the area vectors will be perpendicular to electric field. This is perpendicular to electric field, so this is ds vector, this is also ds vector. So for regions or for surfaces 2 and 3, the electric field vector is always perpendicular to the area element on them. Therefore, flux through surfaces 2 and 3 will be how much, students? Flux through surface 2 I'll write as phi 2, and flux through surface 3 I'll write as phi 3. So this will become E dot delta S, but E and delta S, as I've explained, are perpendicular, you can see. So this becomes E into delta S into cos 90, that will become 0. Likewise, this also becomes 0. So the only non-zero part will be due to the surface 1. So phi 1, the flux through this curved surface of the cylinder, will be E times E dot delta S vector. Now as we can see, any element if you choose, suppose I choose this element, then the area will be directed along outward normal. So this is the direction, this is also the direction of delta S vector, or I should write ds vector. So I can write here ds if you want, and then I'll integrate over the entire surface. But whenever we do this integration, we find wherever elements are taken, always the ds vector and E vector will be in same direction. So this becomes integration of E into ds into cos 0. Cos 0 becomes 1, so this becomes integration of E into ds. Now when we have written the statement of symmetry, here we have written one thing, that electric field is directed along outward normal. Also you should add there that electric field vector has same magnitude at all points on the lateral surface of the Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface is in the form of cylinder. On that lateral surface, any point if you take, all those points are at same distance r. That's why the electric field will have same magnitude. So this, since it has same magnitude, I can take it out of the integration and we will be left with integration ds. Now ds is the small area on this curved part of the cylinder. Integration ds means total area of the curved part of the cylinder, which you know is nothing but 2 pi r into this height that we have taken as L, and this E will be like so. So this is the total flux through the curved surface. Therefore, net flux through the Gaussian surface, or directly I am writing net flux is phi is equal to phi 1 plus phi 2 plus phi 3, but our phi 2 and phi 3 are 0 each. So the total answer will be simply E times 2 pi RL. This is equation number 1. Now we will use the Gauss law. So according to Gauss law, what is the statement, students? The total flux through a closed surface must be equal to 1 by epsilon naught times Q in. This becomes 1 by epsilon naught times. Now see, this is our cylinder. Inside this cylinder, where is the charge? Charge is present in this region. This is the charge. Now how much will be this particular charge? Nowhere else there is some charge. Since lambda is the charge per unit length, and from here to here the length is how much? L. So lambda is charge per unit length, therefore this charge should be lambda multiplied by this length, that is L. So instead of Q in, I will write lambda times L. So this I will write as equation number 2. So therefore we can equate these two equations. From 1 and 2, what will we get? 1 by epsilon naught times E into 2 pi RL, E times 2 pi RL will become 1 by epsilon naught times lambda times L. So L will cancel, you can see, and that gives you the final expression for electric field due to a line of charge. E is equal to, you can see L will cancel, lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught times R. And if you want to write in vector form, you should write here n cap, where n cap is unit vector. Where is it directed? It is directed along the outward normal to the cylinder. Which part of the cylinder? Outward normal to the curved surface of the cylinder. Instead of cylinder, you can write cylindrical Gaussian surface. So this is our final expression for electric field due to a line of charge. I will suggest students you to practice this particular derivation. This is a very simple one. Likewise, we will see some more derivations today. Let's see them. Let us see the second example, students. We will try to discuss the electric field value and direction due to a thin uniformly charged spherical cell. Now this is a thin spherical cell. Actually the cell should be like this. It has inner radius and it has outer radius. But since we have taken thin spherical cell, so we will assume its thickness to be very, very less. So that we can say it has some radius r. The inner and the outer radius are identical. At this point, we wish to find the electric field. So this is our case 1. We wish to find electric field for points inside this cell. Symmetry says that we should construct our Gaussian surface in the form of a sphere centered at the center of this spherical cell like this. So this is our Gaussian surface. Radius of this Gaussian surface is how much? That is r. If electric field is present, then symmetry says it must be directed, if you choose an element over here, it must be directed like this. E vector along radially outward direction. So by symmetry, we will again write that particular statement. By symmetry, electric field seems to be directed radially outward, number one. And number two, electric field seems to have same magnitude at all points on the Gaussian surface. This is our Gaussian surface, the dotted spherical surface. So let's first find flux. The total flux phi, as we have discussed, students, will be integral E dot ds vector. And because it is closed surface, we will put a circle over there. This sign means closed surface. So we are finding this integration over this closed surface. Now you can see carefully the E vector and the delta S vector. For this element, the delta S vector will be directed along outward normal. So this is ds vector. They are in same direction. You can choose some other element over here. Here the ds vector will be like this, and electric field vector will also be in same direction. So wherever you choose the elements, you will always find that the electric field and ds vector, they are in same direction. I should have drawn the lengths of the arrows same, but I hope you understand that, because the values of electric field must be same at all points on the Gaussian surface. So let's quickly see how much we get. So this becomes E times ds times cos 0 degree. Because E and ds are in same direction. Now how much is cos 0? That becomes 1. So this will vanish. E is constant because of this reason. So we will take E outside the integral. What is left behind is integral ds. Now integral ds is this total surface area of the spherical surface. Which is spherical surface? The Gaussian spherical surface. So that becomes 4 pi small r square. So this is our phi. We write it as equation number 1. Now from Gauss law, we will use Gauss law. This flux phi should be 1 by epsilon naught times q in. This implies phi we have already calculated. So from 1 and 2 we'll get this E into 4 pi r square is equal to 1 by epsilon naught times. Now what is the charge inside the Gaussian surface? This is our Gaussian surface, this one. We were given in the question a charged spherical cell. This cell is lying outside the Gaussian surface. All this charge is present over here on the spherical cell. Do you think there is any charge inside this Gaussian surface? In this region, inside the Gaussian surface, there is no charge present. So Q in must be 0. That's why this gives you the 0 value of electric field. Now it might look a bit surprising for you, but it's true. If you have charge distributed on the surface of a spherical cell, then at any point inside this cell, the electric field will be 0. So this is our case 1. Then we shall discuss case 2. For case 2, for points outside this cell, so this r will become greater than r. This figure will change slightly, so we'll draw one more figure. So this is our cell on which there is some charge q and its radius is r, center is O. We have to find electric field at this point, which is at some distance, say r. Like previous case, in case 2 also, we will draw a Gaussian surface in the form of a sphere centered at O. Same reasons will be valid here also. This is ds vector, this is E vector, all those explanations will be valid here also, so I need not explain again. By symmetry, we will write these 2 points. Same way we have to find flux. The E phi will become E into 4 pi r square. This r is the radius of the new Gaussian surface. But when we apply Gauss law, phi is 1 by epsilon naught times q in. Do you think q in will be 0 now? Certainly not. Q in will be now the charge inside this Gaussian surface. We find the total charge is present inside the Gaussian surface. Therefore, the charge inside the Gaussian surface q in value will become equal to how much? Q. If E into 4 pi r square is this much, this gives us the final value for electric field. That will be how much, students? E will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught q upon r square. So if you are asked to plot the graphical variation of these two cases, it should be like this. This is our r, where r is the distance from origin, and this is the electric field. The radius of the spherical cell was r, so this is r. We found that when r was less than capital R, that is for points inside, the electric field was how much, students? Electric field was 0. So this is the graph. And beyond r, for r greater than r, this is the variation of electric field. It varies inversely with square of distance. So it will suit up and will follow inverse square law like this. So here E was 0, and here E is proportional to 1 by r square. It should be more steeper. Like this, and it will meet the axis at infinite separation. I'll stop here, students. There are some more applications left, so I think I'll devote one more class, and in the next class we'll discuss the questions based on this particular Gauss law and the other Coulomb's law. We'll see also the exercise questions. So come prepared in the next class, and please do the assignments which are given herewith. So I thank you. See you in the next class.